We've come on the second anniversary of the full-scale invasion by Russia of Ukraine to protest against the war, against the regime.
And we're here today because it's 2 years of constant fear and constant death, and it's difficult to express ourselves, but we're very sorry for everything what's happening now, for the people of Ukraine, and for people in Russia. We are very sorry also, and we want them to know that we are all together. We didn't forget about them.
This protest is small because this is not the protest, this is a protest. We have organized 4 protests in the 4 cities, in Larnaca, Limassol, Nicosia and Paphos. This is a secondary one. The primary one is in Limassol because most of our compatriots, that's where they live.
As a Russian citizen, are you at all nervous about being here and protesting against the Russian government?
Yes.
Okay. There's cause to be nervous, you think?
Absolutely. I know for a fact that yes.
Sooner or later, you're faced with a choice, whether to do what's easy or to do what's right.
I mean, what more can the West really do to stop the war? I mean, they've already done a lot to help Ukraine. Is there more that we could do?
I mean, all countries now have to help Ukraine more. They don't have to be afraid of Putin. He's a coward.
Especially after the sham elections in March 2024 in Russia, presidential elections, sham elections. It is imperative that all countries, refuse to recognize Putin as a legitimate or a legal leader of Russia, because he will not be that. He's already not that, but after the upcoming election, there will be absolutely no way to recognize him legally.
Ukraine should win this war, of course.
I mean, most wars end somewhere in the middle, so isn't it better to try and talk more to Russia rather than, have sanctions and block them so much?
Oh my God! The thing is that Putin won't stop. So
there was another gentleman about 100 years ago who used pretty much the same rhetoric in the 1930s, and we all know how that ended.
Don't all wars end in compromise, though? Isn't it better to keep talking and keep negotiating?
You do not negotiate with terrorists.
I've been in Cyprus for 2 years, actually, and I don't know when exactly I can visit my home country.
You haven't been back to Russia, I guess, since you were in Cyprus?
No.
And there's no realistic chance you could go soon, I guess?
Most likely not. Most likely not.
You grew up in Russia, but you came here as a teenager?
Pretty much so. I turned 18, I came here to study, but to study, I'm not saying it was a pretext. I actually did come to study genuinely, but I knew that I was going to do it abroad. It would be the first step. I mean, my departure from Russia was conscious, and it was definitely political, there's no doubt about it. I've always disagreed with the establishment, with the regime.
Do you think people in Russia support the war overall?
There are many factions in Russia who do not, but they are invisible.
the majority of Russian people don't support war. They're just very afraid because what's happening with people who try to speak up, how they beaten up how they detained, they beaten up in prison, they're killed. We were silent for too long, and it's time to speak up, at least somehow, to try to stop it, to help people.